Thanks so much for being with us here on Atlanta News First Plus. I'm Joy Limnacker, and taking a look at some of the top stories that we're following right now. There's an investigation into a shooting that's underway right now in southwest Atlanta on Campbellton Road. Here's a look at some of the video that we captured from the scene. And police are working to figure out what led up to these two people being shot while inside of a southwest Atlanta convenience store. And again, this is on Campbellton Road, and it unfolded around 4 o'clock this morning. Police telling us that the two victims were inside the store. And that's when the shots were fired from the outside. The victims were thankfully not critically injured. They're expected to make a full recovery. Police are saying that there are multiple suspects in this crime. Investigators are working to learn what led up to the shooting. So obviously, if you have any information that you're willing to share, they would love to hear from you. Also, following this situation in Fairburn, where police are investigating after a body was found. This all took place outside the DHL warehouse on Whitewater Place. Details very limited right now, but again, a body was found in Fairburn outside the DHL warehouse on Whitewater Place. This breaking overnight. We're going to continue to follow all the breaking developments and, of course, keep you up to date with the latest as we learn more. Also, a very big day for students and teachers at Apalachee High School, an emotional day because students returning to Apalachee High School in Winder this morning for classes for the very first time since that deadly mass shooting. They will only have a half day of classes until they come back from fall break. It is their first time having class since investigators say a 14-year-old opened fire inside the school, killing 4 people and injuring 9 others nearly 3 weeks ago. Of course, 14-year-old Christian Angulo was laid to rest last week, as we reported to you. The other victims, 14-year-old Mason Schermerhorn and teachers Christina Arimi and Richard Aspinwall, were also buried this month. Students and staff arriving for their first day of class, a very, very somber time, but also a time of healing for many. Atlanta News First Sarah Hammond was there as they arrive.
The Barrow County School District says there will be increased law enforcement presence, therapy dogs, and additional counselors as students arrive here and get acclimated to being back in the building. Today is a half day for students from 8:15 to 12:40 this afternoon, and the half day schedule will continue until October 4th when everyone leaves for fall break. Yesterday, students and staff returned for an open house to ease themselves back into being in the school. Barrow County Sheriff Judd Smith says there are extra security measures in place and emphasizes just because you can't see them doesn't mean they aren't there. But for Apalachee High School junior Sasha Contreras, she says she wishes measures like clear backpacks were put in place before she has to return.
At least like a short-term policy or at least an online alternative until we are expected to go back and, until they have the board meeting that has input from community, students, and parents.
There is a Barrow County Board of Education work session happening at 6 tonight, the first since the school announced their reopening plans. However, there is not an opportunity for public comment until their formal meeting October 1st. At Apalachee High School, Sarah Hammond for Atlanta News First.
And former President Donald Trump will return to Georgia today. He will be in Savannah, outlining his plan to lower taxes for business owners. Mr. Trump's last visit to Georgia was in August for a rally here in Atlanta with his running mate, Senator J.D. Vance. And now we're looking at some footage of Vice President Kamala Harris. So she and her running mate, Tim Walz, the Minnesota governor, are not scheduled to make any stops in Georgia just this week. The vice president was just here last Friday speaking about women's reproductive rights. And this week she has planned visits in Pennsylvania, Arizona, and Nevada, which of course are all battleground states. And we're covering all the latest from both camps here on Atlanta News First and Atlanta News First Plus. All right, let's talk about this forecast here. First Alert meteorologist Rodney Harris joining us, and so many questions. I mean, I have people because I work in the news. They're always like, "What's Rodney saying? What's Rodney saying?" What's going to happen this week?
So we have quite a few changes happening, Joy, as we head toward the end of the week. So I want to start by letting you know exactly what to expect. We have a first alert weather day for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And what we'll do, Joy, is we'll break this down for you day by day to simplify it for you so you can know exactly what to expect across Metro Atlanta. As we prepare for that, I will say, Joy, today is a fairly decent day across Metro Atlanta. It'll be hot again. There will be an isolated storm or two out there across the region, but it's mostly dry for us, similar to what we saw yesterday with highs back in the 90s later on today. So today, not a big deal, just really hot. But again, starting Wednesday, that's when we will have the first of many first alert weather days. So let's break it down day by day. Wednesday, we are looking at rain and even a few storms in the afternoon and especially Wednesday evening. So as you're driving home from work tomorrow, you will see some heavy rain out there. This is because of a cool front, not because of anything in the tropics. But nonetheless, Wednesday is a day where you will be impacted. Moving into Thursday, this is now rain from Helen, which hasn't actually developed yet, but Helen is expected to develop later on today. So Thursday in Metro Atlanta, you will see heavy rain. You will also see strong winds, and even a few isolated tornadoes will be possible, although the risk of tornadoes is shifting further east of Metro Atlanta. But Thursday, especially going into Thursday night, some periods of heavy rain and gusty winds. And when you combine that heavy rain and the gusty winds, that's what gives you the potential for some trees and even power lines to come down. So we'll be watching that for you very carefully Thursday night. As you're driving home from work on Thursday, your Thursday evening commute, that will be the first high impact event for you because you will have to dodge some pretty heavy rain and gusty winds. Moving into Friday, that heavy rain and gusty wind will continue for your Friday morning commute. So not a bad, or actually a pretty bad start to your Friday. Again, heavy rain, the potential for some flooding, a strong wind gust. That's Friday morning as you're driving to work, and isolated tornadoes also still possible, mainly east of Metro Atlanta. So by Friday night, the rain will start to move out of Metro Atlanta and North Georgia. So Friday, it's really the first half of the day. If you have any plans Friday night, you'll actually be okay. The overall highest impact for us here in Metro Atlanta and North Georgia will definitely be Thursday evening through Friday morning. So here's a look at where the wave is located right now. I'll put this up full screen for you. It's currently over the Caribbean, so that is where this tropical wave is located, and that's important because it's not actually a tropical cyclone yet. It's not a tropical storm yet. It's just a tropical wave. The center of it is in the Caribbean, and what's happening right now, we call this wind shear. Wind shear is when the wind changes speed and direction with height, and that can help to rip apart these tropical systems. So that's why it hadn't quite developed yet, because we're still looking at wind shear on the west side of this particular system. But that wind shear is expected to relax today, and that's when this will become better organized. And as it tries to squeeze through the Caribbean and into the Gulf of Mexico, that is when we are forecasting it to eventually become Tropical Storm Helen by the end of the day. Going into Wednesday, it will become a hurricane in the eastern Gulf of Mexico, and as you can see, a major Category 3 hurricane is what we are forecasting for this before it hits the Florida Peninsula. That landfall is expected by the end of the day on Thursday. So Helen will track through Florida and into South Georgia as a tropical storm, and as it moves through North Georgia, it will still be either a tropical storm or a tropical depression. So we will have an active tropical cyclone moving through North Georgia throughout the day on Friday. Here's a look at our spaghetti models, and I want to show you this just to give you a little perspective, and you know that the spaghetti models are a combination of a lot of our major models on one map. Whenever those models are spread out, our confidence is low. Whenever those models are tight, like you see there, our confidence is high. And we have tight models right over the state of Georgia, which is why we have a high level of confidence that we're definitely going to see impacts from this particular system. So what do we mean by impacts? Heavy rain with flooding is anticipated on Thursday and Friday. Again, Thursday evening going into Friday morning specifically. In addition to that, high wind gusts. It's not impossible to see a tropical storm wind gust, which is 39 miles per hour. And because of that, again, trees and power lines may come down when you combine that heavy rain with flooding. We'll keep you up to date on that. If we were to see trees or power lines come down, the highest possibility of that would also be Thursday night going into Friday morning. So that's certainly something we'll keep you up to date on. And we do still keep the risk of isolated tornadoes in your forecast, although that's shifting more toward East Georgia and less in Metro Atlanta. I want to walk you through the forecast model. This is lunchtime today. We're mostly dry, but by 2, 3 o'clock, some isolated storms will be out there. across North Georgia. That coverage is at about 20% today, so most of us staying dry and it's just hot. So Wednesday we have a cold front that's moving through, and you can see those showers and storms really blossom by Wednesday evening. So even though this isn't associated with Helene, there's definitely a high impact as you're driving home from work tomorrow because of these showers and storms again with the front. So watch out for that. And what's going to end up happening is the rain is going to move out with the front, and then it's going to quickly be replaced by the rain from Helene, and that's what you're going to have to deal with on Thursday morning. You can see that the rain is basically continuing throughout the entire day on Thursday. Heavy rain is expected, and that will continue through Friday as well. So this is what I mean by it moving out Friday evening. Friday afternoon, we still have rain around, but notice that by like 7, 8 o'clock Friday, most of that rain is out of North Georgia, and that's important because if you have Friday night plans, it does look like you will be fine. I'm going to skip past the rain potential map and go straight to the 7-day forecast. That rain potential map is subject to change based on exactly where the track is, but I will point out that we are forecasting anywhere from 4 to 6 inches of rain in all of North Georgia and metro Atlanta. That's a lot of rain in a short period of time, which is why we're concerned about the risk of flooding. So today, 93, just hot today. A passing shower or storm is possible. For Wednesday, a 60% chance of showers and storms. So remember, Wednesday is a first alert weather day, even though it's not associated with the tropics. That's really impacting you as you drive home from work on Wednesday evening because of that front. And we've highlighted the higher impact first alerts Thursday and Friday in red. That is because of Helene, both Thursday and Friday. The potential for flooding, the potential for gusty winds, and then this system is out of here this weekend. We can't completely remove the rain chances this weekend because we'll have a lot of moisture out there still, but at least the rain chances go down enough to where you can keep your plans over the weekend. So our focus is certainly on what will eventually be Hurricane Helene once it develops, and we will keep you up to date on the latest track. It's super important to download our First Alert Weather app, and we talk about that all the time. It's super important this week because there's so many tools in that app. Not only do you see the videos that we always send, but you can actually look at the track of what will be Helene right there in the First Alert Weather app. So we're going to make sure and provide you with all of that information in the app, and we're going to have an update. First Alert meteorologist Ella Dorsey will have an update for you on Atlanta News First at noon. So we'll continue to keep you up to date on social, on Atlanta News First, and in our app. Again, today is the last day where it's mostly dry, just hot for Metro Atlanta, so enjoy today, and until next time, we'll see you soon.